Disney Star Wars. What's more horrifying, the story or the quality? I don't know. But jokes aside, watching The Acolyte, the new Disney Star Wars show that just premiered today on 5th of 6th of 5th of 6th. I haven't been watching a lot of modern Disney Star Wars for a while, and I was thinking about what to react to next. And I wish this won't be a hate watch. I don't want to just be a hater, super negative, but I realized when I was watching the Fallout show that I can really value the good things, and the super clever ideas, the little details, but then I can also very openly hate the silly things. So, as a very arrogant movie critic, as you will, but genuinely, I'm very interested to see what the show is going to be like. Here's a little quick recap of who I am and what I like. I like Star Wars. I'm not a huge super fan. Grew up watching Star Wars, watched the original trilogy with prequels and played the video games. Love the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic, and all that. When the new Disney Star Wars movies were coming out, I actually watched most of them with my dad in the movies. That was kind of like a tradition we would do often because he kind of wanted to continue that thing as he was a kid who snuck into the movie theaters in the 70s to see the original one. Star Wars has a special place in my heart, but at the same time, I'm not a huge buff. My whole channel isn't dedicated to it, loving or hating or anything like that. I just like Star Wars and I watch it. Now, when it comes to Disney Star Wars, I'm not a huge fan. I don't really love to hate it. It's what it is. It's different company, different era. It's what it is. I don't really care. At the same time, I'm not super impressed with Disney or Marvel, what they've been putting out yet. What thoughts do I have of this show and why did I choose this one then? Mostly, I don't really know much about the people who directed it and all that kind of stuff, but I do know that there is a very heavy focus on, politics, women, minorities, whatnot. There's like some little things that somebody mentioned, some reviewers watching. I have no idea what really this is about. The fact that it is a bit different, the writing is a bit different, the pacing is a bit different. I know there's a lot of jokes that some people don't even like Star Wars who are a part of this project. That's not great in my opinion, but so there's nothing like that to me that I feel like every actor has to be a super fan and know everything. Of course not. It's your job, and it's awesome if you're a fan of it, and if you're not, whatever, that's fine with me. But for me, it's more like I can kind of see from the production that it's a bit different. At least the style is a bit different, the actor's a bit different, the idea is a bit different. It's set in the High Republic era, which is before prequels but after the Old Republic kind of thing. Timing is a bit weird and odd. I don't really get it. I'm more like curious to see where the hell they're going to go with that and what's going to happen with the show. What is the style? What are they going to do? I want to give it a chance. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and all that kind of stuff, right? My outfit is just some random thing. The closest thing that I have for a robe, it's not really a robe or whatever. It's actually super goddamn hot. I don't have a lot of clothes underneath it, and I'm kind of holding it up like this because I don't want it to be on me too much. It's the closest thing I had for a Jedi thing, maybe more of a Java thing. Let's go with The Acolyte Episode 1. So the High Republic era. So not a title crawl, but just a little info dump. So some lone assassin. Hey, she kind of looks like me, except her color is a lot cooler than mine. Now, this is my wife's, though, so Jedi are a very common thing, very well known, nothing secret, because there's a lot of prosperity, right? Distinct lack of music, but of course that would be a one-on-one reference to episode 4 yet again, so that's totally fine. But I'm just saying, mix of various different creatures, went directly to the Yeti. So it's not like an assassin thing, it's like a pride thing. I want you to. Well, she's tiny as well, though, to be fair. But she can sense something, I suppose. So she has some superpowers, seems like. I wonder, or is it like just using the Force to fight? Or is there any other kind of like superpower thing, I wonder? Because yeah, that's like superpower stuff. That's definitely a reference to like Kung Fu / cowboy stuff, this setting. She was trying to reach for the lightsaber. Why? If she's so powerful, does she want a lightsaber of her own or what? Haha, Star Wars. Why did I say Star Wars? I mean, haha, Matrix. Yeah, so she's definitely using like the Force in some way, but not in a way that we are used to or whatever. Yeah, they're really leaning on the old school Kung Fu thing, but you uses it in a different way, more in like as a physical attribute kind of thing of like I'm stronger and faster and we can move in unique ways, where she's using it in a very classic Star Wars Force way. Well, she does a lot of that, of like just freezing you in place, but then she doesn't do it, but then she does do it. Why? If she's using the Force push and like stopping her willy-nilly like a lot, why doesn't she just grab her and just drink, you're done kind of thing, if she's gonna do that kind of stuff, I guess she's a Force user, so you would assume that she kind of can fight against it, but in some ways not or whatever. But she wasn't totally ready, the assassin girl seems like, or whatever. She recognizes her? Why? Her ex-master or whatever. But if she recognizes her like that, then why didn't she recognize her when she was talking to her? She does just classically use the Force as well. Why is she like throwing these facts about Jedi So how are they gonna like explain that whole thing of like, I know the Jedi, they used to do something bad, but they were saying you're good guys, and like what way? Because in the prequels there was definitely that like, not dichotomy, but like that problem of like, oh, we're Jedi, we're good guys, we're just gonna take your kids when they were young. Right? I get it as like the big strength and power forces that they have, they kind of have to do that, but still. So there are definitely some issues with the Jedi, and when you think about it in the prequels, so you can kind of see why they fell. There was this like arrogance and all that kind of stuff. So I guess the biggest question of this story is like, what's the point? If you have the High Republic and there's already somebody who's kind of a Sith, why didn't we know about it in the prequels? Having this like debate that you have Jedi, but then you had somebody who's kind of gray or dark or something and freaking around and trying to figure out what they are and don't have labels on it. Yeah, of course, there's always been gray Jedi. There's nothing new about that. And like different sects of belief and stuff like that. In my opinion, for now, the alien design is pretty good. I think the aliens look pretty good. Was that a dream, or is she preparing, or like what the fuck? Was that training, dream, reality, or what? I think she's at least putting a lot of effort into acting, I think, like her face and all that kind of stuff. Some of the designs and all that are, at least the beginning was pretty fine, and the aliens are pretty fine. One big lacking thing that I noticed from this show already is music. There has not been one moment where the music was happening or anything was interesting. Like, when she pulled out the lightsaber, like, there was nothing there. Like, I felt nothing. Like, it wasn't interesting, it wasn't unique. It was just a very generic, like, school play, or like a school designer student who would make, like, now it's a high-pitched song, but there was nothing special about it. Like, think about Darth Maul. Da-da, da-da-da. You're like, oh my fucking god, right? It's like, it's a thing, whereas now it's nothing. And I'm not comparing a TV show to a movie. I'm just saying that what it could be. Prequels, aliens, just from episode 1, like I was talking about it, that there is a way to make a thing very powerful with music, but the music is nothing. There's no music now, right? Like, nothing is meaningful in any kind of way. The music is sorely lacking. Kind of basic, like, menu music from Knights of the Old Republic or something. And I'm not, like, being picky at this show. You'll notice, that's a very common thing I do with my dad, is we watch something, we like to be critical, and one of the most lacking things is music. Like, there just isn't a song that's amplifying something or making something more interesting. Episode 1, Aliens, Trade Federation. But the big question is why? Why does this show exist? What is the point of it? Was that her fantasy? Did that actually happen? What are we trying to do? Is it going to be an explanation of like somebody being light or dark, whatever, that something bad happened to you, so then you do something bad? I am very curious to see where the morals of the show go, because there's that whole thing that I kind of like is what does a villain do and a hero do when the world treats you poorly? Because when you think about a villain, they often have like problems, right? They might have a screwed up leg or a face or something like that because they faced something bad in the world. Or then you have a good guy who also faced something bad. They were discriminated, Superman and all that kind of stuff. Like the face, Batman lost his parents. But the hero thinks to themselves is like, oh, there's something bad happened to me. I'm going to prevent this from happening to anybody else. Whereas a villain thinks, well, something bad happened to me. The world owes me something. I can take what I want, right? That's a villain mentality, right? It's not even like the mentality of like an anti-hero. It's like, I'm done with everything. I'm going to do whatever I want for the greater good. It's like, I have the right to do what I want because the world was bad to me, right? Like, that's a villain mentality. So she was a former Jedi. Did she go and kill her ex-master? Did that actually happen or not? I would like to get that answer to that. So they have some arrogance, the Jedi. They come in, they do what I want. They put fear into people. So was that him using mind tricks, or he about to use his force to hurt somebody and the woman interfered? I don't know. That's weird. He's weird. Oh, so he became a knight. That's why he's a bit weird. Why are they in good terms? Yeah, he's on edge. He's not relaxed already. Before she was like smiling and all that, he was like being weird. So he's been ordered to do something he doesn't want to do, like capture her or something. Oh, so emotional. She lost something. She was angry, kind of like Anakin, that you have sadness or whatever. Yeah. Are they gonna like use this in any kind of way for a real lesson or something? Because so she did die. So she maybe felt it through the Force. If she isn't the one who's doing it, but then she felt it through the Force. So maybe they're not saying that because you had trauma or emotion that you are evil or you could lead to that path, but there was something negative that happened. She was grumpy, then she died, the master, so fit her description, so that's why. Okay, got it. They have an eyewitness. So it did happen, and they did look like her. Yeah. So that's why he's so confused about it. Got it. Coruscant. Yay, Yeti Order. So he's the guy from the Squid Game, right? Cool to see more of him. Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room. They have made a huge effort to make sure that there's not one straight white man on screen. Let's just say it. It's real. It's true. They're putting a lot of effort into it to have every single other mixed race, whatever kind of person, and not a straight white man. Not a good thing. Pretty sexist and racist, but let's move on from that. Let's see. Let's see where the show goes. Because if you're going to be a bigot like that, at least let's see what you're going to do with it, right? Like, seriously, let's just be real. We've seen how many pairs of Jedi Padawan? Her and her Padawan, the woman next to her, him with whatever, and then the main two women. It's nothing. It's like majority women, and then every single other race possible. So come on, that's a little bit bigoted, but whatever. So she wasn't. Oh, I thought the woman who was killed in the beginning was the old master, but I guess he's the old master. Political enemies of the Jedi. Who would be the political enemy of the Jedi? I guess you would go and make sure that the old master is okay and on the same page, but at the same time, why are you? That conversation makes sense, but now I'm curious to see why is he a part of this story after this. Clearly he cared about the Padawan, but still. That is very creepy looking. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. It's, I have seen too much stuff online about that. You're not serious. Are you serious? The first white man we see is in prison. The first and only white man we see is in prison. Not a Jedi, not a Padawan, not a pilot, nothing but a prisoner. Imagine if you had a movie or a show where you have no black people in it, and the only black person you meet is Tyrone in jail. Just, can we be real about this kind of stuff, please? That is a very creepy looking dude with a weird tentacle thing, but interesting design. Is there more than one white guy? Was there 2 white guys in prison? No. But the first white man with a dialogue is in prison. That's just so goddamn funny. And he's an asshole too. Awesome. The first white man we see also is unfair and bad towards our minority protagonist. They're really making it hard for me to watch this with an open mind. But let's see where it goes. Must be an amazing story. Yeah, because she had some Jedi training, so she would have some idea. It's not a bad premise for like a character per se. Somebody who already has some idea of it, has had some training, but would be reasonable for her to have that video game moment of like getting better as the show goes on. Also, that she would have some connection to it. It's not a bad idea. And failing in the beginning is good, showing us that it is difficult and worth something, that not everybody who's just done a little bit, like an online course, can use the Force, right? So that's good. I think she's a pretty decent actor. 2-3 white men were in prison. 2-3 white men. I'm not sure in the same, but then at least guaranteed 2 white guys in jail, and yeah. But I wonder who that's gonna be. They're gonna set it up that he's gonna come back and maybe help her or save her or something like that. So the white man character is reduced to being the dog from Resident Evil 4 who you help. So later when you have a boss fight, the dog will come and help you in Resident Evil 4 with the big troll dude. And they're probably going to blame her for that as well, which, stands to reason. But I guess that's their call that he's going to get to go and find her or help her or whatever. That's a fine way to give exposition, to have a training lesson with a Padawan. That's fine. But I see where they're going with it now. I get it as a story beat, why he would want to go, but I don't exactly understand why they would do it. Again, it's a movie, it's a TV show, it's fine. But it's like, I remember there was a horror movie where a woman was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, whatever, I don't know what the difference is. But she suddenly had an episode and she was admitted in the same hospital where she was a doctor. And the very first comment that my parents had to that, because we used to have movie nights and watch it all together, they mentioned that would never happen. Like, you would never be admitted into the same hospital where you used to be a doctor, because of the reason what the movie was happening. Yes, it's going to be super weird with the students and patients and all that kind of stuff. So that's always kind of like a little pet peeve of like, if he clearly is already showing signs of favoritism, they can sense it. Why would they ever put him, who could technically be a weak link, at least even some debate or argument, right? I don't know. It's a bit odd. But I guess you could say that he could have a connection to her, so he could bring her peacefully, stuff like that. That's fair. That's fine. It's a show. I know. It's just a little pet peeve of like, why would he be the one? Sorry, loss. So she survived. I'm fine with it. It's whatever. She had her whatever MacGyver moment, and it's a show. Why would we have a show with somebody who died? So that's fine. So is it like a dark side version of her, but she still was there? That's kind of creepy, actually. I was expecting her to walk towards us, but then she walked away in a weird way. That was actually kind of creepy. It's a kid, or is it her? What the hell? I mean, she's kind of a... Oh, it's her as a kid? Yeah. It's just funny because she's so short. She already... Okay. Oh, her sister or something? Yeah. I just realized, so is it going to be a whole thing that it's her sister who's the one doing the killing or whatever because they look so similar, or what the hell? So because something bad happened, so she turned into the bad side, and then because something good happened to her, she was taken under the wing, so she kind of turned to the good side, but then she was also kind of failed, so people understand why her sister would go to the bad side or whatever. And they clearly have some kind of force connection because she already saw the events happening in her dream, and then also know the direct connection. Oh, it was a twin. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, that explains nobody knew. Well, that's a little... I mean, of course... Okay. I understand that he's saying it in public, that that's not what it is, and that could be one of the reasons why he's there, because he kind of knows that it wouldn't be his Padawan, but it would be somebody else, so that kind of makes sense that he was thinking about that and kind of let it slip. But still, come on, you must know. You know it's not your Padawan. You know it's her. You would feel it in the Force, right? I will say that it is very direct, so there's a chance that that's not really what it's going to be, that it's going to be some kind of thing, that it is like a dark version of her or something like that, or she's not who we think she is or something like that, because that's super direct, right? Like, why would it be this direct? Yeah, I think I believe him that he believes her, because I think that's what he was already thinking, and the reason why he was thinking that is like why he would want to go and help and all that, because that would make sense why he wanted to go there and help her, because he would know that the Twan is there.
An acolyte kills without a weapon. An acolyte kills the dream.
Okay, that ending was a little cringe. I don't know what else to say. Having a whole monologue, a dude with a red lightsaber, it's very on the nose, it's obviously like the Sith. It's so like, I know that there's this problem because when Disney purchased Star Wars, they essentially threw away all of the Old Republic kind of stuff, so a lot of that kind of, I guess, isn't really true anymore, but it really just is this big problem that you have this thousands of hours of content, and then you throw it away and you don't want to use it, and then you give us something like this. And that's your response to Revan. That's your response to, which was a whole thing about being a gray Jedi and all that, right? This is your response to the Sith species that used to live in Korriban, and it was a whole war, all Mandalorians, all that kind of stuff. Like, this is your response to that? This edgelord with an edgelord mask, with an edgelord color red, just being an edgelord and just turning his lightsaber on to show the audience that he has a red one? I don't know. It's just cringe. Like, imagine if this acolyte would have been walking up to her master, seeing him do something fucked up. Like, she would see him de-skinning somebody, right? Like, doing something crazy, that he would have his own Jedi that he's torturing. I guess that there was the first time we saw a Jedi die, so he wouldn't be killing a Jedi, but something like that, right? Like, he's doing something crazy. Think about the introduction of Game of Thrones, Lannister dad. He's like de-skinning this deer. He's just this man of principle. He's just doing what he does, and you're a goddamn child, and he's just doing it, right? It's like instantly, like, you see this, like, Jaime Lannister go back to being kind of a teenage angst and all that, right? It's just this clever writing. Whereas in this, you just have this edgelord on a rock, right? It's like, why? Who is this? What's happening? I know that's the point. They want me to ask these questions. I'm like, oh my god, what's next? There was nothing memorable about that, right? It's like they're trying to reinvent the wheel. That, oh my god, there's something crazy in the beginning of something. But then I'm like, well, Darth Maul is cooler. Him doing his synthetic red crystal and all that, right? Reading the book. We already have Terascasi, which by the way is Finnish and means iron steel hand, which is really funny when I heard that in Solo. There's this whole kung fu thing of like, which again, you can say that this is the birth of it, because in Disney World there is no such thing as the Old Republic. I get that, but I'm just saying it's just lackluster, you know? It's like, it's just lackluster. We didn't have to see him stand on a rock with a goddamn lightsaber. We didn't have to hear his monologue. It would have been interesting if there was like a lesson there, right? Lesson where he would have asked her, is like, hey, how'd it go? While he's like de-skinning something, doing something crazy. You're like, oh, this guy's kind of intense, right? Maybe it's like like a family of animals, and he's like killing them in front of the baby or something like that. And you're like, oh my god, what is happening? And he's like, well, it tastes better when it's fresh. And it's like, or something, right? And it's like something Hannibal Lecter type, right? And then he would ask, well, how did it go? And she was like, and then he would say like, let me guess, you tried to do this, and you failed. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Meaning he would prove the point that steel and laser is no point, whatever. So through a lesson, we were like I just said with the Jedi that the idea of a master explaining something to a Padawan kind of makes sense in a way, sure. But she's just walking up to him and he's just standing somewhere and he's randomly giving a monologue. That's such like, I don't feel like it fits the tone of the rest of the show where we had such a human moment with our main character, whose name I don't remember, waking up in her pajamas. Think about that. How often do you see a Star Wars character wake up in their pajamas. I've actually thought about that because I think of stories in my head and I was thinking, would I do that? Often when you think of Luke, he just has Luke clothes. Han always just has Han clothes, right? We don't often see them waking up in their pajamas. But now we did see that human moment from our main character. So we have these human moments, right? So there is this like human thing there where they're showing us being as normal humans. And then we have this such unhuman thing, like I'm standing on a rock being cringe lord. So that ending was very lackluster. Beyond that, what are my thoughts about this show? Very much the question is why? Why do we have this show? What is the point? I think it is a response to Old Republic. It's a response to where the Sith came from. It's a response to there's more to the Force than just good or bad, which again, we already had Qui-Gon, who's essentially very gray. We already had Lord Tyrannus, Darth Tyrannus, meaning Dooku, who was originally a very gray one, as they say in episode 2 or whatever. So we already had these gray Jedi who were like known in prequels. We've already had a lot of people who, obviously in other media as well. So this like acting like it's a totally new thing is a little bit frustrating as a fan. And if you're going to do something with it, then goddamn do something with it. Like make it into a huge thing, right? Like make it into a groundbreaking thing, not this like random event with a random person. It's a little bit frustrating in that sense. And that's the difference of like you have with George Lucas, you had episode 4, 5, 6. You had this idea of an ancient civilization that used to be the Clone Wars, and you had this Republic, and you had this like Jedi Council. That was his idea of ancient history when episode 4 and 5, 6 came out. So with this ancient idea and history that he had, this lore, he then made the prequel. Well, then you have the Old Republic, which is like continuation of that thought logic, which again is like, oh, okay, well, if you have that, then what would have been before that? Plagueis and all that kind of stuff, right? So it just gets more and more grand. And in this, it's like, well, okay, let's go back where the Sith came from in a smaller scale. Let's go back to what Jedi used to be and a smaller scale. Let's go back and explore the dynamic range of using the Force and a smaller scale. And again, if you want to have a show that like explores that, Clone Wars did a lot of that kind of stuff, right? It seems to want to deal with really big subjects, but it's not really big because they really want to play around with the idea that the Force isn't just good or bad. There's more to it. There's sides to it. Jedi aren't perfectly good and all that. Like these are very big themes that, by the way, took 3 full-fledged movies from the creator himself, George, right? So it's like you want to play around with the idea that the Jedi might not be perfectly good. George already did that. You want to play with the idea that there's gray. Well, George already did that. You want to play with the idea that emotions could lead to fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And I've sensed much fear in you, right? Like that was the whole theme of Anakin's downfall. These big themes, and this is the scale. The big theme of like, well, Old Republic doesn't exist. So what was the Sith, or what was the thing before Darth Maul and Emperor? Well, in fanfic stuff, it's essentially Plagueis, right? It's Revan. But in this, the scale is a dude who's being an edgelord, right? It's just not interesting. Like they didn't need to reveal that. They didn't need to show that. They could have just left it somewhere, but they had to like be really on the nose and show like, it's an edgelord and a beach. It's like, okay, that's your amazing scale. It's just unfortunate. Beyond that, I think the acting is pretty decent. I think the actors are all pretty good. Nobody really bothered me. I understand that they're doing this thing with the Jedi are super like, which is very prequels actually, with the Jedi are super reserved, which is fine. I think the main character, she's pretty good. In my opinion, she emotes quite well. She's tiny, so the whole thing with fighting is a little bit, but at the same time, I've thought about my own stories, and that is one of the places where like having a tiny woman beating people up makes sense when you have the Force. So like very clearly she was using like the Force as like a superpower, like in the beginning. That's actually a very good comparison. This just felt very Marvel in that sense. It just felt very superhero. Her powers were superhero powers, right? It really didn't feel like the Force. And I think that's a big part of it, is that the Force usage just didn't feel very significant. And I know that that's probably an artistic design because they want it to be normal. Everybody's using the Force. There's nothing special about it. There's no secret about it like in the old Star Wars movies or original ones or anything like that. It just is norm. People just do this. They are just Jedi. She goes to a village. Where's your Jedi? It's normal. I get that. But I'm just saying that they're just kind of like doing that and it's like, okay, whatever kind of thing, right? It's like they're kind of using but not really, but they kind of use but not really. It's like, okay, it's like super normal, but she just won't grab her. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it. The lightsaber usage was very stiff and boring in my opinion. You could say deliberate and controlled. That's another way of putting it, which is fair. We'll see what happens with the lightsaber usage, but Disney lightsabers, not interested. I love Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. The minute 58 seconds of them fighting is the most amazing cinema ever. I love it. Star Wars fighting cinema. So the Force usage is a bit lightsaber, but that's not a bad thing because I do want to see more lightsaber stuff. So you could say that was a success of I want to see more. I honestly think that the set designs are fine. It's a bit small scale, but it's a show. So what can you do? I mean, Game of Thrones, Rings of Power, you can have large scale. This is Star Wars, and again, this is tackling very huge subjects, so it's a little bit, I don't know what to think about that, but whatever. A huge lacking thing is the sound design. There's not one piece of music that I remember. There's not one piece of anything that's interesting. There was not one moment, which often is music, that creates a moment to be iconic, to be perfectly honest. It's just nothing iconic. There was nothing memorable. I don't remember any character's name. I don't remember any planet's name. I don't remember any event that really happened. I don't remember anything being super cool or fun. I don't remember anything being cool, sexy, crazy, interesting, new, nothing. I honestly don't remember anything that happened, like in any kind of memorable way. The main Jedi Master dude is pretty good because I like him from the Squid Game, so I'm kind of happy to see him. He's like the closest thing I could say I'm happy to see. And supported cast is good enough acting in my opinion. And the main woman is actually pretty entertaining. I think she's pretty nice. She seems good. My main question is, what is this show? What's the point of the show? The scale is huge with the questions, but then the theme is very small at the same time. Just this like detective thing or whatever. The era is a bit cringe. It's like right before the prequels, but then we have like a Sith thing that's a little bit the red lightsaber and everything. That's a bit much. I feel like it's just why not go further away? You could do anything and this is what you choose to do, because I feel like this is some of the first things I see from the High Republic and this is what you choose to do. Again, Old Republic is like such an amazing thing. There's like so much there and this is what you choose to do. It's with your High Republic, the first show that comes out. And I think that's not necessarily the show's fault, because there could have been other things that were supposed to come out already and this was just in the pipeline already, so that's not really the show's fault. But still, you know what I mean. It's just a little bit like, then there's the elephant in the room, which is politics. Everybody knows that the showrunner is very political. The people around us are very political. Everything is very political, and you see it. It's very bigoted and sexist and racist towards white men. Obviously, I'm not gonna like debate about it. It just is. There's no argument there. It just is. It is so utterly, completely obvious that they have made that choice, because you can make whatever argument you want in that kind of galaxy why there would be suddenly like 0 white men. That makes no sense, especially in the Jedi. I mean, in the Jedi Council, that kind of sense, that makes no sense. And then from a production side, when you're hiring people, you're in countries that is majority white, you're choosing not to put white people on screen. Like, let's cut the bullshit. Let's not lie to ourselves. That's what they're doing. They did it on purpose. They say they did it on purpose. They're proud of it. They really better go somewhere amazing with this. I'm an OG fan, and my dad's an OG fan. You're really pissing in the eye of OG fans. They don't care about the OG fans. This is not meant for me. That's very obvious. I don't want it to be a hate watch. I don't want to continue hate watching this. I like the two main characters, honestly, the Master and the ex-Padawan, and I'm curious to see the whole twin thing and what is their idea of the dark side. I think that's always still interesting. I like the dark side. I'm interested to see what their idea of the dark side is and how is that resolved. Like, that's not a bad idea, right? There's ideas there. I had very low expectations, better in some ways than I expected, exactly what I thought in other ways. But that was episode 1 of The Acolyte. There's another episode, probably just gonna like bang that out right now while I'm in the getup. This is super hot, this outfit, but let's go with it. Thank you very much for your time, and let's go to episode 2.